We rise giving honor to Jesus Christ, who is indeed the great head of the Christian church. To him be both glory and majesty, dominion and power.
Yes.
Now and forever.
Yes.
To Dr. Kinlow, the pastor of this house, thank you so much for allowing us to come to the pulpit. Friend and brother Adrian, is he not a wonderful young man?
Yes.
Praise God for him.
Yes.
He has such fire and passion. We thank God for him. About 4 years ago, we had a prayer breakfast at the First Baptist Church in Malvern. Had a chance to sit with Brother Chris, Adrian, Dr. Kendall, and some others. And it was just a great time for fellowship. And we developed a friendship over the years, and we thank God for that. Thank God for all of you. And we won't be long, because I know the hour is getting late. But we do have an assignment, and that assignment is to teach and preach about how abortion is sin against the holy God.
Oh, yes.
So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you for this privilege you have granted us that we might come and gather this day. We ask that you would please meet with us and sup and dine with us. We ask, oh God, that you would give us ears that we might hear. Lord, that you would have mercy.
Yes, yes.
In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
The scriptures we're going to be reading from today, Leviticus 18 and 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. And then in Genesis 1, 27 and 28, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. And have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living creature that moveth upon the earth. Abortion is sin against their holy God.
Yes, sir.
Why is abortion sin against the holy God? Number one. And number two, why is abortion sin? Well, abortion is sin simply because God has said so. Remember the commandment when he said, thou shalt not kill.
Amen.
Well, birth does not begin when the child exits the womb. Birth begins at conception.
Amen.
And anything that is alive, you can kill it, even though it may not be fully born.
Amen.
Now, I don't know anything about gardening. Matter of fact, when I was a boy back home in Atlanta, my mother would want to have a garden. I said, I don't want to do a garden. It's too much work. Too much work. And we plant some seeds, etc. And you can kill that garden because once the seed is planted in the ground, all whatever that agricultural science is, I don't understand. I just know some stuff happened and begin to grow. But I know if you before it begins to grow, after you plant it in the ground, you begin to mess with it, it'll kill it.
Amen.
Now, what I want us to see this afternoon is that abortion is sin, not just sin, and that's it. I want you to know who it is a sin against. It's not a sin against me, but it is a sin against a holy God.
Yes, sir.
And what we have to understand is that this thing of sin is not simply only me sinning against you, but it is me sinning against God. As our brother read earlier from Psalm 51, when you read that psalm, he says, against thee only have I sinned.
Yes.
So even though I might have committed a sin against you, in reality I've committed a sin against him. And whenever abortion is performed, it is a sin against a holy God. But not only when the abortion performed is a sin, sinning against God. The fact that I would even consider to have an abortion is also a sin against God. Because remember, Christ did not simply die. He did not simply die for what I do. Amen. He also died for who I am. Yes. Because what I do is determined by who I am. Yes. But when he changes who I am, it also determines or changes what I do.
Yes. Yes.
So this afternoon, very briefly, we want to talk about 4 things from these 2 texts. And we want to see about, we want to talk about God. We want to talk about this issue of replenishing the earth. We want to talk about how we're to have dominion over it. We also want to talk about the fact that God tells the people in Leviticus, don't send your kids to Molech. Amen.
Yes.
So the 4 things we want to talk about this afternoon shortly is personality, fertility, victory, and authority. Personality, fertility, victory, and authority. Let's look at personality here. Let's go to verse 27 of Genesis chapter 1. It says there, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Personality. Now, when I say personality, I'm really using it as a noun because oftentimes we'll say, there's a particular personality who said. Well, this personality is none other than God himself.
Yeah.
And God has said what it is that we are to do.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we learn something about God here in this text. We've learned that he is the creator.
Yeah.
But we also learned that he does something different in creating man than he did with all the other things he created. Amen. When you look at Genesis chapter 1 and you see the story of creation, he always says, let there be, and what? There was. Amen. Let there be light, and there was. Let there be this, and there was. But when it came to man, he said, let us.
Yeah.
And he didn't say let there be, man. He said, let us make.
Yeah.
What I want you to see is the personal nature and the personal relationship and the actual love that God has for man.
Yeah.
Because he says, let us make man, whereas with the Son, he said, let there be light.
Yeah.
Let there be this, let there be that. But I want you to see the reason abortion is a sin against the holy God is because we are cutting off a relationship that God so desired. He didn't want a relationship with the trees. He didn't want a relationship with the cows. He didn't want a relationship with the sun. He didn't want a relationship with the moon. God wanted a relationship with man. He said, let us make man. Now, had he said, let there be man, it wouldn't necessarily have to be a relationship. Amen. But because God has said, let us, there's a relationship that's now lost. Amen. Because man has because man actually killed a soul that was birthed and conceived in the womb of
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So God, I want you to know something that this relationship is a spiritual relationship because you do know God is a spirit.
Yeah.
Now, we see the image of God when Jesus puts on flesh. So we see a visible image.
Yeah.
But I want you to know now that man, Adam and Eve, they were the visible image of God.
Right.
When God made Adam and Eve, let me rephrase that. There's some attributes of God that's totally his and his alone.
That's right.
Then there are other attributes of God that he allows us to share in.
Come on.
For example, the attributes of God that are his and his alone. God is omnipotent. Yeah. In other words, that God is such a powerful God that none of us can be him.
Yeah.
That is an attribute of God that you and I do not have. Yeah. Now, I know Creflo and others like to say that we're little gods, G-O-D, but I got some news for Creflo and Joel Osteen and all the rest of them. You're not a god, G-O-D, little G, or any other kind of G. Because if you want to impress me that you're like God, speak a son into existence. If you want to impress me, take some dirt and form a man. If you can't do that, you ain't a god of any kind. There's only one God. And he sits high. There are just some things about God be. He always was. God can say I is and still be grammatically correct. He is God. If God say I is, don't correct it. If God say I be, don't correct it. Because he's God. He's self-existing. There's no beginning and no beginning. He's before the before. He's after the after. He's the Alpha and the Omega. God did not let me slow down. God is such a God that time does not exist unless he creates it. Matter of fact, let me tell you about God being on time. God is such an on-time God that he's never early. Because in order for you and I to be on time, we have to be early.
All right.
You know, when you go show up at your job, they tell you you're supposed to be to work at 7 o'clock, then you don't come in at 7. You have to be at your location at 7 to get to work at 7. So in order for you to be to work at 7, you really got to get to work early. But I want you to know God never shows up early. But then God also never shows up late. When God says he's on time, he's always on time. Never early, never late. This is the God we serve. He's self-existing. He is eternal. He is immutable, meaning he does not change. God is so immutable that he never misspeaks.
That's right.
In other words, you never have to hear God say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it that way. No, whatever way God said it is the way God meant it. God never has to back up and say, I didn't mean to say that, I misspoke. No, God never misspeaks. Because he never says a word he does not mean. God is immutable. He is absolutely perfect. God is omnipresent, meaning he's everywhere at the same time. God is omniscient. He knows all things. God is infinite. In other words, he has no limits. God has no limits. It's sort of like the math when you go to the nth degree. He's infinite. You really can't find a way to limit God. And then finally, he's incomprehensible. In other words, he's beyond our understanding. God, we cannot understand him. These are some natural attributes of God. But then there's some attributes of God that he also allows us to share in. Even though we don't do it perfectly, but he allows us to share in. These are called his moral attributes. In other words, God has some attributes that he allows us to share in that we also need ourselves as well. For example, God expects us to be holy. God is a holy God. And he tells us, be ye holy as I am holy. And he doesn't grade holiness on the curve. When God says, be ye holy as I am holy, he means absolutely that. He means nothing more, he means nothing less. Also, God is truth. He wants us to have, he gives us that attribute as well, because we're supposed to be what? Honest and truth tellers. Now, we understand that we don't always tell the truth, but the fact of the matter is God tells us what? Not to lie. So the bottom line is he expects us to tell the truth. Another attribute of God that he expects us to also display is that of love. Remember, these are moral attributes. That God expects us to love one another. Then not only that, God expects us to act righteously. In other words, he expects us to do things that are righteous. And beloved, we must be those who actually go out and make certain that we are concerned so much about pleasing God that we want to do those things that are right his way. Because the truth of the matter is, righteousness always punishes sin. I know we live in a different world today. We don't want to punish sin. We don't want to talk about sin, but sin must be punished. And the truth of the matter is, because of abortion, God is punishing us even right now. As Pastor Moss had already told us, he mentioned about the various inventions. Whenever we kill a child, there might be some invention that we will never experience. There's some doctor that never was born. There's some lawyer that could have defended our cases that never was born. The economy itself, we know the economy, because there are less people, that means there are less washers needed to be made, to be sold, less dryers needed to be sold, less food that needed to be sold, companies going to shut down, etc. And then, as Pastor Moss mentioned, The reason we want immigrants to come to our country because there's some job that we don't want to do that others will do, and the reason we won't do them, etc. Part of the reason is because we cannot fill those jobs because there's nobody allowed to fill those jobs. But then also there's mercy. God expects us to be a merciful people. These are attributes, the moral attributes that God expects us to have. And so when we look at the fact that sin, or excuse me, abortion is a sin against the holy God, it's because God is holy. That's why sin, abortion is sin against the holy God. God, His image. I want us to see this afternoon that God created man to have relationship. It's hard to have social relationships with people when there are no people to have social relationships. There's possibly a best friend that should have benefited you, or you could have benefited them, but because of abortion, that soul was never born. Part of being made in God's image is that God expects us to choose that which is right. Amen. We see that with Adam. We see it when he was formed. God told Adam, Adam, you can eat of all the trees except this one. Don't eat of this one, Adam. The day you eat of that tree, you shall surely die. You've been created in the image of God. He's told us this. And I want you to know this. Abortion is not just about the woman. It's about the man. First of all, there is no baby without me. There's no baby without the man. That's right. And I want you to know that every time the mother has an abortion, so did the father.
All right now.
In Numbers chapter 30, you'll see there where Moses talks about vows being made. And he tells us about when the husband hears his wife make a vow. Now, if the husband hears her make the vow and says nothing, then the vow is okay. But if the husband hears his wife makes the vow, but steps in and says, no, baby, we can't do that, then that vow is no longer valid. Here's what I want you to see. That God doesn't simply hold the woman. He holds the man accountable for the sin. Yes. Sin did not enter the world when Eve ate of that forbidden fruit or that forbidden tree. Sin entered the world when Adam ate of that forbidden tree. So we must understand abortion is not just about the woman. It's just as equally about the man. As a matter of fact, I'll submit this afternoon that it's even more about the man.
Go ahead.
I'll submit that. Why? Because sin didn't enter the world until Adam ate of the forbidden tree. Now, I know we live in a world today that says that the woman's body is her own. That might be true. But what she carries in her womb is not her own. It's also mine. Because what's in her womb could not have been formed unless I was involved. And even the world knows that. You all know they have this thing called sperm banks, right? And this is what I understand. When they have sperm banks, one of the things that they have legally make sure that the father of the child doesn't get any involved, he has to sign away rights to a sperm. So I'm telling you, it's not just about the woman. It's just as much, if not more, also about the man, because God holds him accountable. So every time that a woman has an abortion, that father is also having an abortion. So when he's silent, he's just as guilty. If he's not saying, baby, we're not going to have this abortion, then guess what? He's just as guilty. It's more than just providing the child support. It's about being a father. Now, I know also this, and I preach crazy anyway. When a man and a woman sleep together, in God's eyes, they're actually married.
That's right.
Now, I know legally, we may say they're not married, but not in God's eyes. Because when they two lie together, they become what? One flesh. They're one. Teach. So therefore, that child that's aborted, not only the mother killed the child, so did the father.
Yes.
And so therefore, that's why society is being destroyed.
Yes.
Because the father kept silent.
Amen.
God made sure of that. So I want you to know this personality. Then I want you to see fertility. Look at verse 28 of the text. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. Let's stop right there for just a moment. Fertility. It's a sad day when we think if someone has more than 2.3 children, they have a whole lot of kids. It is. That's a sad day. Got a young couple in my church, they're getting ready to have their 5th child. And people are, woo! I can't understand.
Amen.
I can understand if the world didn't.
Yeah.
But why are we as Christians teaching that? And I gotta spend time telling my folk, don't say that kind of stuff. Because there are folk who are trying to have kids and can't have them. Children are a gift from God. Why have we adopted the world's mindset?
Go ahead.
When God says children are gifts from God, we ought to be excited for them. Man, you got about, we're going to have number 6.
Amen.
Fertility. And notice what God said. First of all, it says, and God blessed who? Them. Didn't it say God blessed her?
Them.
And God blessed them. Remember, I told you the man is just as important.
Amen.
And he's just as responsible when it comes to abortion. Because God blessed them. Not her, not him, but them. And God blessed them to be able to have children. And God said unto them, he says, be fruitful. I'm not good at math, but I know how to add. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. He says, God tells me that he begins to think in the form, and we begin to think like, okay, there's some addition that's taking place, and that's true. But then God said, let me encourage you a little bit more. I don't want you to simply add. I want you to do what? Multiply. While 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, but 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. He says, be fruitful and multiply, because I got something for you to do. Replenish the earth. You can't replenish if you're not being fertile, and being fertile if you're not multiplying. He says, be fruitful and multiply. He says, I want you to replenish the earth. Now, God could have made 100 million Adam and Eve all at the same time. But he made Adam, then he made Eve. He said, now, here's how I want to replenish this earth. Here's how I want to have a relationship with all of mankind. He's going to start with you two right here.
All right now.
Fertility. What a mighty God we serve.
Amen.
Isn't that good news?
Amen.
Notice, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Restock it. Make more. Don't stop. I like that part. Somebody get that on the way home. But think about it. When he talks about us being fertile and fertility, God is very clear. So therefore, abortion is sin against the holy and righteous God, because the holy and righteous God has given a command. And every command God gives, he expects to be obeyed. And so when man does not be fruitful, when he does not multiply, when he does not replenish the earth, he is committing sin against a holy God.
Amen.
Be fruitful, God says, and multiply. He's holy, he's righteous. God never tells us anything that, number one, he doesn't want done. He never tells us anything, number two, that is not good for us.
Amen.
It is good for us to be fruitful and to multiply and to have a different attitude regarding children being born.
Amen.
Amen.
Thirdly, I want us to see victory. Personality, fertility, victory. Look back again at verse 27, Genesis chapter 1. Verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it,
Amen.
and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Victory. That's what subduing is. That's what dominion is. You're victorious. And at this particular point in time in the text, this is before Adam and Eve sinned. Before they sinned, they subdued. They had victory. They were having dominion over the earth. Because the victory that they had is the fact that God had given it to them. All right. It wasn't the fact that Adam had all this great strength and they had all this great knowledge. I'm not saying that all that might have been true, but here's the fact of the matter. God had given it to them. I mean, the ground was going to produce just because it was going to produce, even though Adam had to work the ground. But whenever he worked the ground, stuff just came up. But once Adam sinned, he had to show enough work the ground by the sweat of his brow. And stuff would come up. Oh, victory. God tells us, he says, I want you to subdue and I want you to have dominion. And notice how God does. He says, first of all, I want you to have dominion over the fish of the sea. I used to love Aquaman when I was little. I don't know if y'all remember Super Friends. That's way back. And Aquaman, I mean, he was a bad boy. I mean, he do this telepathic kind of stuff, and the fish would just kind of come along and help him out with whatever he did. Man had dominion over the sea, over the fish of the sea. And then guess what? Over the fowl of the air. Now, the thing that's amazing to me about this is this. Man can't live in the sea. How is man going to live in the sea? He said, you give him an air tank, but sooner or later that's going to go out. Man can't live in the sea, but yet he's going to have dominion over it. All right. How does he have dominion over fish in the sea and he can't live there? Because God gave him the victory. Yes. Man can't fly. I mean, he can fly in a plane, but he can't just fly. Jump off the building, he's going down. He's going down. How does he have dominion over fowl in the air? Because God has given him the victory. Yeah. And then he says, have dominion over every living thing that creepeth and moveth upon the earth. How do you have dominion over life? Because God gave the victory. Yes. And I want you to see that any time that abortion is averted or abortion is aborted, that's a victory.
Yes.
God wants us to have victory over abortion. Because the truth is, as our brother already alluded to earlier, and that is this, it really doesn't matter about the number of abortion clinics there are. What matters is whether or not we get to the heart of the people. Yes. I majored in economics in college, so I got my bachelor's in, and this is something called supply and demand. Yeah. If there's no supply, there's no demand. Personality, fertility, victory. And lastly, I want to look at authority. Look at verse 21 of Leviticus 18. Leviticus 18 and verse 21. Look at what the word of God says there. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire tomorrow, neither shalt thou profane the name of the Lord thy God. I am authority. The reason the reason abortion is sin against the holy God is because God said, don't do that. He has the authority to say it. I remember when my boys were little, they would say, Dad, how come we got to do so and so? Dad, why we got to do this? Dad, how come we got to do that? One time I said, what's my name? Dad, I said, that's why. I know we live in different worlds and they want to have to explain stuff to them so they can understand. I don't care if they understand or not. If they understand, fine. If they don't understand, fine. Why that? Because with the Lord, guess what? If I understand, fine. If I don't understand, fine. It's still not going to change what God said to do. So whether or not I understand it is really irrelevant. The issue is, do I want to be obedient to God and give glory to His name? The name of God. He said, neither shalt thou profane.
Yes, sir.
Notice what was profaning. What was profaning is that God is seeing His people sacrifice their children, who are His creation, to this God, this false God. And in doing so, letting them burn, and they're thinking they're being religious and spiritual. But it's a false God.
Yes, yes.
And anytime we obey the false God,
All right now.
then we are actually profaning the name of God. And anytime our children are going through the fire of that chemical abortion our brother talked about, that's the fire to Lord. When that, I call it a vacuum, I'm not sure what the proper terminology is, that vacuum goes up in the womb and suck that child out, that's the fire.
Yes, it is.
To Mold. And God said to us, He's very clear, and thou shalt not let any of thy son, any, not just some, not just one or two, he says, thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moab. And every time a father and a mother allows abortion, they're letting that seed pass through. That's why, remember, it's a sin not against me, but against the holy and righteous God. And that's what we must understand. It's a sin against Him. Though we may do it for our own convenience, though we may do it for various reasons, it's still a sin against Him. The question is, do I want to sin against God? But notice, thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of the Lord thy God. Notice, he's saying this, don't make my name common. I'm not like Molech. I'm the God of God. The name Molech actually means king. But God says, I'm the king of kings. So no. Don't make me come like this brother here, Molech. I'm the king of kings. That's good news this evening. And then finally, under this authority, we must always remember this. I am the king. What comes after the colon expands on what comes before the colon. What came before before the covenant was, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. Colon. I am the Lord. Amen. I am the Lord expands on what came before the covenant.
All right now.
God says there's nobody like me.
Yes.
Don't forget, I am the sovereign God.
Amen.
I am the God who creates all things.
Amen.
I am the God of the universe. I am the God who spoke things become. I am the God who speaks and things are no more. I am the God who will send snow on Easter. I am the God. Oh yeah, I could believe snow on Easter. I said, what's going on? Is the bomb? What's happening here? Snow on Easter. That doesn't happen at all. But I want to know, God says, I am the Lord. I am immutable. I am all powerful. I am all knowing. I am your God. I am your Savior. I am your Redeemer. I am your sanctifier. I am your justifier. I am the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Abortion is sin against a holy and righteous God.
Yes, it is.
But the good news is this. He's still the forgiver
Yes, he is.
from all sin.
Yes, he is. Thank you, Lord.
There is no sin that our God is not able to forgive.
Yes, sir.
And if you have committed any sin, abortion or any other sin, I want you to do a cry out to him.
Yes.
And he will forgive.
Yes.
He will forgive.
Oh, yes.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you
Yes.
for the opportunity to share with you. Thank you, God, for this opportunity you've given all of us to learn more, to be equipped for the battle.
Yes.
We ask you, oh God, to continue to watch over this house. Bless her pastor, Dr. Kendall. Bless the work of these men here at Word of God Community Church as Brother Neil leads them. And help us all to understand how to be more impactful when it comes to sinning against you,
Yeah.
even here at abortion. We thank you for this opportunity. We bless your name.
Bless you.
In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.